Hi, this is Marie Spalding of Living Felt. Thank you for joining us today. In this tutorial, we're going to look at the basics of handling your wool and laying it out for felting. We'll look at fibers in two different categories. The first is anything that's a roving sliver or top we'll handle one way, and anything that's a batting we'll handle another. So let's get started with top or roving. The first thing you'll notice that's similar about them is they all come in these long lengths, or ropes, some people call them, where all the fibers seem to be going in the same direction. The first thing we want to do is kind of remove any twist, and we'll want to divide it into both length and width that's easy for you to work with. So to divide the length, the first thing we need to do is get our hands far enough apart. If our hands are too close together, we'll pull, and we can't separate it without actually tearing the fibers, and we don't want to do that. So just back your hands up a little bit, give it a gentle pull, and the fibers will divide. That's perfect. So now let's get it into a width that's easy to work with. The most important thing is that we're able to lay out nice even layers. So let's make it thinner and just divide it in half. And you see that it separates very easily. Now the length you like to work with might be the length of your arm or even about 18 inches. Find what works for you. We'll begin by laying it on our mat. We put the fibers right down on the mat and use our opposite hand to hold pressure. And we just do a slight shingling here, which is a gentle overlapping of the layers, about a quarter or a third of the width. And then to do the base, we do the same thing, a slight overlap and gentle pulling. Now, depending on how thin you want to go, you might go as thin as a finger length if you're putting down small amounts of color, or you might like to use your opposite hand and pull off the fibers in this manner. The most important thing is that that layer is even all the way across. So once your first layer is down, it's time for the second layer. The second layer goes in the opposite direction. You want to give fibers as much opportunity to interlock as possible, and doing more thin layers going in opposite directions gives us better support for that. So I'm going to actually do 2 layers of my pink here, but I'll still alternate the direction. Now I like to work in even layers myself because the fibers will shrink in the direction of the length of the fiber because they want to shrink back towards their natural crimp. So when you lay out your base, consider doing an even number of layers. If you have 2 layers, say the top and bottom are going the same direction and the middle is going this way, you might have more shrinkage in this direction. So either do even layers alternating each, or if you do an odd number, make that odd layer going in a diagonal. Most important thing, nice and even. All right, so this is a great foundation for a little wet felting project. We'll set that aside and look at our batting. Batting comes in different sizes and shapes, but this is Living Felt Merino Cross batting. This is our MC1 line, and if you get a 2-ounce bundle, this is about what it looks like. When you unroll it, you'll see that it's a nice little thick, it would actually be wider, but I've separated this, and it's a nice little thick bundle. So what we'll do is first separate the width, and we just peel it across to get it thinner. And then I'm going to peel it again. You can divide it comfortably into about 4 layers. So if you set those aside, peels off very evenly. And then I'm going to make just a little square here, so I'll actually divide it in half. And what you'll see with batting is that you don't have to shingle it. You can just put 1 layer on top of another. I still like to alternate the directions, but you don't have to make a bunch of little individual overlaps, and it lays out much more quickly. So whether you're wet felting or needle felting, the most important thing to do is to create a nice even layers and to get your directions going alternating each layer. That's it. That'll give you a strong foundation. We'll work more with these layers in future tutorials. This is Marie Spalding of Living Felt. Thank you for joining us, and as always, happy felting.